been that way. Just raise your hands real high so we can acknowledge you. Thank you for your presence and your interest in education and educational outcomes. There's a mic in the center aisle for your comment or your question. What we want to do is kind of collect and hear what you have to say, and then we'll compile it and then get back with a framework that allows us to engage. Reverend Larry, you want to do the Reverend Senator, Dr. Larry, you can, since you do this on your day job, we're going to let you facilitate this, but if I might tee up the first question. So Josh, National Teacher of the Year, if you had to highlight one area where community could be more helpful based on your experience, what would that area be that would help more of our teachers compete for Teacher of the Year? What did you have that many of your peers didn't have in terms of those supports?
Thank you. I don't think, by the way, that because I was Teacher of the Year that I was so great. I stand on the shoulders of greatness, and there are a lot of other colleagues, a lot of other people who are as deserving of the award. I think when it comes to the community, we want the community to come into the school, see what we have to do, see what we have to contend with, quite honestly. One of the things that really frustrates me and makes me cry visible tears and silent tears is the amount of trauma that our children have to come into school with every single day. The amount of unprocessed pain that they have to contend with every day, and then we have to deal with 25 of them at a time for 90 minutes and then another 25. So if the community could just see what we have to do every day, and they can better support. I think also one of the things that helped me to, be named Teacher of the Year is empathy. One of the things that I think the National Network of State Teachers of the Year does is it trains teachers well on teacher leadership. We have teacher leadership models and standards because you don't have to be a principal to be a leader. You can be a teacher right where you are. And so one of the things we like to talk about is this whole trait of empathy. What's lacking in teachers who don't reach children is that they cannot identify with the children that are right in front of them. And so empathy is that very, very special and unique quality that allowed me to see myself when I started out at Dundalk Middle School, way upside there. If you know Dundalk, you know it's an interesting place. But I could see myself as the children, whether they be black, whether they be white, and that empathy allowed me to create the lessons that drew them in and allowed me to inspire them to be their best self. But if I can't identify with you, I can't teach you. And identification does not have to have a color. I identify people who look like me and who don't look like me because at the end of the day, we are one. And when I can do that, and when I can teach other teachers to do that, that inspires them to create lessons that are transformational. And so I would say the one thing that we do very well is we teach teacher leadership, but we also help teachers identify with students so they can reach them better.
This is the extended version of the Larry Brown Evening Show.
It's be much nicer when we don't have the coach with us. Amen. Very good. Whoever wants to start, if he's so kind, okay. I like that. Hold up, let me get at least 3 more. Anybody else? Come on. And
They still do. I want to know why. Who's going to do something about it? We talk about teachers making a difference, the administrators making a difference, the parents, the community. What about the buildings? When a child has to go into a building where they can't drink the water, what is that telling them that we think about them? When they have to go in a building where there's no air conditioning, there's no heat, what is that saying to the child about what we think about them? And I thought about it a couple of years ago, they did a big to-do, and I'm not trying to put down people in prison. They were talking about they didn't have air conditioning. But our children don't have air conditioning. So I think we need to think back further. It's not always about those fluffy little things. It's about hardcore things. We are not dealing with them, and we need to deal with them. Thank you.
The question of facilities is an important one. We've got to make sure that we're aware of the ongoing policy decisions that have been made and where we ought to engage. One of the responsibilities we have as a community is you've heard about the $1.1 billion package around updating the schools in Baltimore City. Well, there are certain schools that are coming online. Some of the projects are being let right now. Some of the RFPs are already out. We need to know if you're in an area where there is a school, you need to know where your school is on the waterfall of the timeline of the updated and redevelopment, and then to make sure that you're engaged in that process of reviewing what are they going to do in terms of the school design plan. Is that plan consistent with what state-of-the-art education is going to mean for the next couple of generations? Because you know, once you get your first $1 billion commitment, you don't get to go back and ask for another $1 billion anytime soon. So we've got to get some traction out of this process. The other thing that's really, really important, many folks don't know this, Senator Young, while the $1.1 billion package is there, the appropriation of the funds to continue beyond a certain point is an ongoing process. You must engage your elected officials, your delegates in the House of Delegates, your state senators, to make sure that they do not take their eye off the ball and to get into a budget fight, much like we've seen, unfortunately, in some of the conversations where you would hold up construction dollars to try to get window units as a temporary fix, when yet